Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws Gunslingers with your host Bang and Dang. It's the time that at least we know one person has been waiting for, the Mafia of the Month.
right.
Mafia of the Month. Finally, after 3 months of introducing the Gambino family,
Right.
we are on the namesake of the Gambino family, Carlo Gambino himself. Died in 1976, so it was right when the mob was hitting its big stuff coming over there. Gambino crime family. Yeah, well, I mean, we got a lot of the same stuff we've done before. Appalachian meeting, the Castellammarese War. He's involved in all that stuff, but he is the boss of the family, namesake, so we got to do him. In the meantime, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. Shorts, clips, full episodes of all of our podcasts, and as well as our YouTube exclusive Dart League. Give us a subscription, and if you're listening on the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify in particular, give us a review and share us with your friends. Carlo Gambino, Sicilian born, leader of the namesake, obviously. He's born in Palermo, Sicily, Italy, August 24th, 1902, to a family that belonged to a Sicilian mafia gang from Passo di Regano.
Okay.
He had two brothers, Gaspar, who was not involved in the mafia, and Paolo, who was a part of what would become the Gambino crime family.
Fantastic. Got to at least have one.
Right. His parents were Italian immigrants, Tommaso Gambino and Felice Castellano. I wonder if that's
right.
Oh, Frankie's.
It is.
Frankie's chicks,
It is.
or family.
Known for his quiet, understated demeanor, razor-sharp criminal savvy, Gambino was a teenage hitman in Sicily, alleged to be a made man into the mafia overseas before coming to the United States in the year of 1921 at the age of 19.
Jeez.
Made man already. Dude got some muertas under his belt. And going to work for cousins connected to the gangland factions in New York. His cousins were employed by East Coast Prohibition-era mob boss Salvatore Toto d'Aquila. We did him, guys. Did we?
I don't know if we did him, but we definitely mentioned him a few times.
For whom he too immediately went to work. When d'Aquila was moited by rival gangster Giuseppe Joe the Boss Masseria in 1928, Gambino shifted his allegiance to Masseria.
I don't think he had a choice at that point.
Yeah.
Gambino later moved to a modest house located at 2230 Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn. His Long Island residence, located at 34 Club Drive in Massapequa, New York, served as a summer home. Well, good for him.
Right.
Two-story brick house surrounded by a low fence with the marble statues on the front lawn was at the end of a cul-de-sac in Harbor Green Estates overlooking the South Oyster Bay. Fucking awesome.
Right, cool. Good for you there, guy. Year 1932, Gambino married one of his cousins.
No, jeez.
Catherine Castellano, sister of future Gambino family boss Paul Castellano. They raised 4 children.
Wait a minute. Yeah, his mom's a Castellano,
Right.
and he married... What the fuck, dude? Oh, my.
Right. They raised 4 children. Sons Thomas, Joseph, which passed away in 2020. Carlo, who's still alive, born in 1934. And a daughter, Phyllis Gambino Sinatra.
Oh, hey.
Passed away in 2007, though.
Part of the Sinatras, huh?
All right. 1930, Gambino was arrested in Lawrence, Massachusetts as a suspicious person. Right. That charge was dismissed, but he was seized a month later in Brockton, Massachusetts on a larceny charge.
Well, you look suspicious. We're going to take you in.
What year was that?
1932.
Yeah.
1930. A warrant was issued for his arrest when he failed to show up in court for that larceny charge, however. 4 years later, he was arrested in Manhattan as a fugitive and was returned to Brockton, where the larceny charge was dropped when he made a restitution of $1,000.
Fantastic.
By the early 30s, Masseria found himself in a fierce rivalry with Salvatore Maranzano, head of the Castellammarese clan, which eventually escalated into the bloody Castellammarese War.
Right.
Masseria and Maranzano were the so-called Mustache Petes, who were older, traditional mafia bosses who had started their criminal careers in their home country and believed in upholding the supposed old-world mafia principles of honor, tradition, respect, and dignity.
Right.
I mean, is that so bad to want to hold up that?
Not at all. Mustache Pete's refused to work with non-Italians and were skeptical of working with non-Sicilians. Some of the most conservative bosses worked with only men having roots in their own Sicilian village. When the war began turning poorly for Masseria, his second-in-command, old Lucky Luciano, saw an opportunity to switch allegiances. In a secret deal with Maranzano, he agreed to engineer Masseria's moida in return for taking over Masseria's rackets and becoming Maranzano's lieutenant. And he also had other motives.
Yeah. April 15th, 1931, Masseria was indeed killed at Nuova Villa Tamaro, which was a restaurant on Coney Island, ending the war. Masseria gone, Maranzano reorganized the Italian gangs of New York into 5 families, which Luciano, Joe Profaci, Tommy Gagliano, Vincent Mangano, and himself. They were all the original 5 families.
Right.
He called a meeting of crime bosses at Wappingers Falls, New York, where he declared himself Capo di Tutti Capi, which is boss of all bosses.
Right.
Maranzano also whittled down the rival family's rackets in favor of his own. Said, I will be making the most out of anybody. Thank you.
Right. Oh, lucky he appeared to accept these changes, but was merely biding his time before removing Maranzano himself. Although Maranzano was slightly more forward-thinking than Masseria, Lucky had come to believe that he was even more greedy and power-hungry than Masseria had been. September 1931, Maranzano, realizing the threat Luciano posed, he hired Irish hitman Vincent Mad Dog Cole to eliminate him. However, Tommy Lucchese, he alerted Luciano that he was marked for death. 10th of September, Maranzano summoned Luciano, Vito Genovese, and Frank Costello to his office at 230 Park Avenue in Manhattan, where Maranzano was moited.
Yup, right in the middle of his office. Dude, 230 Park Avenue. Mafia headquarters, where all the business...
Right.
Wow. Later, 1931, Luciano called a meeting in Chicago with various bosses where he proposed the creation of a governing body for organized crime, which we would later come to know as the Commission.
Right.
Designed to settle all disputes and decide which families controlled which territories, the Commission has been called Luciano's greatest innovation.
Right.
His goals with the Commission were to quietly maintain his own power over all the families and to prevent future gang wars. The bosses approved the idea of the Commission.
Yeah, right, they did.
Pretty much, Luciano was still the boss of all boss, but
right.
They knew. Everybody knew.
Right. After Masseria's death, though, Gambino and his cousins became soldiers in the family, headed by Mangano. Despite being a mob power in his own right, Albert Anastasia was nominally the underboss of the Mangano family. During his 20-year rule, Mangano had resented Anastasia's close ties with Lucky and Costello, particularly the fact that they had obtained Anastasia's services without first seeking Mangano's permission.
Well, it's okay for you guys to do it, Lucky, but if somebody did it to you...
Right. This and other business disputes led to a heated, almost physical fights between the two mobsters.
Well, in his part, Gambino was arrested in 1937 for tax evasion related to operating a 1 million-gallon distillery in Philadelphia. Why? I guess still need to pay your taxes, even though Prohibition's over.
Right.
He served 22 months in prison at the United States Penitentiary in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, the only period in his whole life, or criminal career, I guess, during which he was incarcerated. 1951, Mangano and his brother Philip were murdered, reportedly on orders of Anastasia. Philip's body was found near Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, on April 19, 1951. Vincent's body never found, and he was declared dead by the Surrogates Court in Brooklyn, October 30th, 1961. A whole 10 years after he was gone.
I mean, I would think so.
Right. He ain't showing back up, guys.
Right. Year 1957, Genovese decided to move against Costello and Anastasia, enlisting Gambino, Anastasia's underboss, in the murder conspiracy. Genovese ordered Vincent Gigante to carry out the hit on Costello, which was attempted outside Costello's apartment building on the 2nd of May, 1957. Although the wound was superficial, the brush with death, like we said before, Costello was like, dude, I'm done.
You scared me, okay?
Right.
You did your job.
Right. Relinquished his power to Genovese and he retired. Although a doorman identified Gigante as the gunman, Costello claimed to not recognize him at Gigante's 58 trial. Gigante was acquitted on charges of attempted murder. Of course he was.
He went on to become the boss of the Bonanos, right?
Something like that.
Was it Genovese?
Well,
Was Costello gone? Genovese and Gambino allegedly ordered Anastasia's murder next. Gambino gave the contract to Profaci, who then allegedly assigned the hit to Joseph Crazy Joe Gallo. Anastasia was indeed murdered October 25th, 1957 in the barbershop of the Park Sheridan Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Dude, Midtown Manhattan, heart of everything, just mafia murders going down, dude. Gambino subsequently took over the Mangano crime family, which took his name going forward.
Damn right.
He appointed Joseph Biondo as his underboss, though Biondo was replaced by Agnello Della Croce in 1965.
Cool. Shortly after Anastasia's murder, though, Genovese took control of Lucky Luciano's crime family from Castello. Seeking to legitimize his new power, he called a meeting in which leaders of both American and Sicilian crime syndicates would be in attendance. Among the items on the meeting agenda were the mafia interest in gambling and narcotic smuggling in pre-revolutionary Cuba, as well as their interest in New York City's garment industry. The meeting took place on 14th November at the home of mobster Joseph Barbara in Appalachian, New York. We all know about that.
Yeah, well, we're going to learn about it again because Edgar D. Croswell, who was a trooper with the New York State Police, had become aware that Barbara's son was reserving rooms in local hotels and that a large quantity of meat from the local butcher was being delivered to the Barbara home. Suspicious, Croswell decided to monitor Barbara's house. When the state police found numerous luxury cars parked at the estate, they took down the license plates, discovered the vehicles were registered to known criminals. Not only that, all from different states.
Right.
Police reinforcements came to the scene and a roadblock was set up.
Damn right it was. Damn. When the old mobsters discovered the police presence, they started fleeing the gathering by car or by foot. Many mafiosi escaped through the woods surrounding the Barbara estate. Gambino is thought to have attended the meeting, but was not one of the mobsters apprehended. The Popo stopped a car driven by Pennsylvania boss Russell Buffalino, whose passengers included Genovese and 3 others. Buffalino said that Genovese had come to visit a sick Barbara, while Genovese himself said he had come to attend a barbecue. The police let him go.
Same thing.
Right.
They're going to barbecue for the sick Barbara. How about that? A barbecue.
Right.
Gambino and Luciano allegedly helped pay a part of $100,000 to a Puerto Rican drug dealer to falsely implicate Genovese in a drug deal. Lucky was like, I'm about tired of this guy. April 17th, 1959, Genovese was sentenced to 15 years in prison for drug offenses and died while in prison February 14th, 1969.
Oh, on Valentine's Day. That's sad.
Oh, poor guy. January 26th, 1962, Luciano himself died of a heart attack at Naples International Airport. 3 days later, 300 people attended a funeral service for Luciano in Naples. Don't know what this has to do with Gambino.
Right.
During which his body was conveyed along the streets in a horse-drawn black hearse.
Oh, wow. Freaking president and shit. With the permission of the United States government, Lucky's relatives took his body back to New York for a burial at St. John's Cemetery in Middle Village, Queens. More than 2,000 mourners attended this funeral. Gambino, Lucky's longtime friend, gave his eulogy.
Oh.
After Genovese's imprisonment, Gambino took control of the commission. Under his leadership, the Gambino crime family had 500 soldiers and over 1,000 associates. In 1962, Gambino's oldest son, Thomas, married Lucchese's daughter, Frances.
Keeping it in the mob family,
Yeah,
huh?
right.
Over 1,000 guests
That was a
attended
hell of
that
a
wedding.
wedding. Yeah,
1,000
shit.
guests. In which Gambino presented Lucchese with a $30,000 gift.
Isn't that where they did Godfather from?
Pretty much. Or I guess Gambino was loosely based on
All right.
$30,000 gift, though, and this is in 62, so that's a lot of money. In return, Lucchese gave Gambino a part of his rackets at Idlewood Airport, which is now JFK. Lucchese exercised control over airport security and airport unions. As a team, Lucchese and Gambino now control the airport, the commission, the most organized crime in New York.
Oh.
They got the big bucks coming in. Look at that.
Fantastic.
Lucchese, Gambino. I bet you all the other families are like, we need to break these bastards up.
Right.
Dude.
1963, speaking of other families, Joseph Bonanno, the head of Bonanno crime family, made plans to assassinate several rivals on the commission. Bosses Gambino, Lucchese, and Stefano Magadino, as well as Frank De Simone. Bonanno sought Joseph Magliocco's support, and Magliocco, bitter over being previously denied a seat on the commission, readily agreed. Bonanno promised to make Magliocco his right-hand man in exchange for his assistance. Magliocco was assigned with killing Lucchese and Gambino, and he gave the contract to Joseph Colombo, one of his top hitmen.
Well, so much for Magliocco, because the opportunistic Colombo revealed the plot, too, was intended target.
If Lucchese would have done himself, Magliocco would have done himself.
There would be a Magliocco family right now. The other bosses quickly surmised that Magliocco and Bonanno were colluding and summoned both men to explain themselves. Fearing for his life, Bonanno went into hiding in Montreal, leaving Magliocco to deal with the commission.
Oh, wow.
Badly shaken and failing health, Magliocco confessed to his role. The commission spared his life but forced him to retire as boss of the Profaci family and pay a $50,000 fine.
That's light.
As a reward for turning on his boss, Colombo took over the Magliocco's family, which was subsequently renamed the Colombo family, which it remains.
Right. Damn, good for you, Colombo.
Right.
Deportation proceedings against Gambino were started by the Immigration and Naturalization Service as early as 1953, but made no headway for several years. because of his heart condition and constant hospitalizations. Year 1970, he was indicted on charges of conspiring to hijack an armored car carrying $3 million here. So, that's a lot of money. And he was arrested on 23rd of March, year 1970. He was released, $75,000 bond, and was never brought to trial because of his health.
Of course.
That very same year, the United States Supreme Court upheld a 1967 order that he previously appealed that he be deported because he had entered the court country illegally. When the government tried to carry out the order, Gambino was rushed to a hospital after he had suffered a massive heart attack.
And unlike...
was he so scared to leave the country?
Unlike Gigante, who faked his heart attacks, this one was real. Right. June 28, 1971, Colombo was shot 3 times by Jerome A. Johnson, one being in the head at the second Italian Unity Day rally. Well, it's not Unity.
Right.
The Unity Day rally in Columbus Circle, sponsored by the Italian-American Civil Rights League. Johnson was immediately killed by Colombo's bodyguards. Colombo was permanently paralyzed from the shooting and later died in 1978.
He got 7 years.
Although many in the Colombo family blamed Gallo for the shooting, the police eventually concluded that Johnson was a lone gunman after they had questioned Gallo. Of course he's going to say no.
Right. Come on.
Stupid.
Since Johnson had spent time a few days earlier at a club run by Gambino family, one theory was that Gambino organized the shooting. Colombo had refused to listen to the Gambino's complaints about the league and allegedly spat in Gambino's face. Oh,
jeez.
During one argument.
Spit, or was he spitting while he was talking?
Right. However, the Colombo family leadership was convinced that Gallo ordered the moida after his falling out with the family. Gallo himself was moited on the 7th of April, 1972.
That's what you get, buddy. After Genovese's death, meanwhile, Gerardo Catina, we did an episode on him, became the new boss of the family. However, he was indicted and jailed in 1970.
Yep.
Thomas Eberle then became the front boss of the family for the next 2 years. However, Eberle wanted to run the family for real and borrowed $4 million from Gambino to finance a new drug trafficking operation, and we know it don't work out well for Eberle.
Yeah, however, though, law enforcement soon shut down Eberle's drug racket and arrested most of his crew because they're idiots. Gambino allegedly ordered Eberle's moida. He says, I told him if he messes up, he's done.
And he owes me $4 million.
Right. While it was initially thought this was due to Eberle's failure to pay back the loan, it was now believed that Gambino actually wanted to replace Eberle with Frank Funzi Tiatti, and that Gambino used the loan as a pretext.
Right. He was like, this is perfect.
Right. 16th of July, year 1972, Eberle left his girlfriend's apartment in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, walked to his chauffeur Cadillac. As he sat in the parked car, a gunman in a passing truck shot him 5 times. Damn.
Hit in the neck and head.
Damn.
Eberle died instantly. No one was ever charged in the murder.
Of course not.
Gambino was hounded by the FBI for decades, such as 1970 when he was indicted for masterminding a major East Coast burglary ring.
Oh.
The government never nailed him, though.
Nope.
He was known for offering arresting FBI agents coffee and dessert at his home before they took him in for booking. It's like in
Right.
Goodfellas. She was
Right.
like, I never understood why the wives would spit on their floor
Right.
and break stuff. I just offered him coffee and sat there while they did their thing.
I mean, let them do what they need to do. 2 years later, 1972, Gambino's 30-year-old nephew Manny was kidnapped and moited by an Irish mob crew led by James Jimmy from Queens McBratney. Uh-oh. Take it, that guy ain't gonna be around very long. The Irish hoodlums had been kidnapping Italian mafiosi and extorting 6-figure cash ransoms for their release for more than a year when they grabbed the younger Gambino. Demanding swift vengeance, Gambino called on John Gotti.
Hey.
Then an up-and-comer in the ranks of his crime family and the protege of his underboss, Neil Delacroce. Gotti, his best friend, Angelo Fat Angie Ruggiero, and another wise guy named Ralphie Wiggs Galleon, they gunned down McBratney in the Staten Island Tavern, May of 1973. They all eventually were convicted and imprisoned for the very crime. Damn.
I guess we didn't do a John Gotti episode yet, but I don't remember that in any of the documentaries I watched, but okay. Gambino died at his Massapequa home in the early morning hours of Friday, October 15th, 1976. He was 74.
Wow.
Having watched a television broadcast of the New York Yankees winning the AL pennant the previous evening. Good for him, huh?
All right.
Did they win? I think they won the World Series that year, too. The official cause was natural causes, and his death was not expected given a history of heart disease.
Not unexpected.
Cusimano, that's what I said. Was not expected. Oh, well, whatever. Cusimano and Russo Funeral Home hosted his wake over the weekend of October 16th and 17th.
Fantastic. His funeral mass was held on a Monday, October 18th, at the Church of Our Lady of Grace in Brooklyn. Gambino was then entombed within his family private room in the cloister building of St. John Cemetery in Queens. His funeral and wake were attended by several hundred people, with plainclothes police and FBI agents mingling outside. His funeral procession consisted of 13 limos, around a dozen private cars, and one flower car.
Aww.
Fantastic.
Against expectations, Gambino had previously appointed Castellano to succeed him over his underboss Della Croce.
Uh-oh.
Gambino appeared to believe that the family would benefit from Castellano's focus on white-collar crime. Della Croce, at the time, was in prison for tax evasion and was unable to contest it anyway.
Right.
So Castellano's secession was confirmed at a meeting on November 24th with Della Croce present, though. Castellano arranged for Della Croce to remain as underboss while directly running traditional mafia activities such as extortion, robbery, loan sharking, murder.
Nice. That's nice.
While Della Croce accepted Castellano's succession, the deal effectively split the Gambino family into two rival factions.
Of course. Jeez. Della Croce's death from lung cancer in early December 1985. Castellano's decision to skip his underboss's wake brought about a Gambino clan coup, in which Della Croce's pupil, Gotti, it staged the moida of Castellano and his right-hand man, Tommy Bellotti, on a crowded Manhattan street in front of the popular Sparks Steakhouse and grabbed control of the crime family by force.
He
Gotti
did. And that is the end of the Gambino faction. Is when Gotti did that. So, bye-bye, Gambino. Gambino didn't do much, did he?
Not too much.
This whole story was...
Just a starter.
This whole story was legitimately everybody else's story.
Right.
With a couple of things sprinkled in about him.
He was just a starter guy.
So stupid. Well, coming up next, we'll cover the aforementioned Paul Castellano. The Gambino, they didn't have very many bosses. All their bosses reigned for years.
Right.
Like, Castellano was 9 years, but then after him's John Gotti, and then Peter Gotti, and some acting bosses, and then the current one is Domenico Italian Dom Cephalou, which we know don't have nothing on him because he's a new guy.
Right.
But other than that, yep, John Gotti be next. We'll round them out probably about 5 more episodes. Well, we still do have maybe Angelo Ruggiero, maybe Della Croce. I don't even know if we did him. And we got a few more left of the Gambino family, and then we'll probably move on to the Lucchese and round out the 5 families with Columbus before moving on to the outskirts, mainly Chicago,
Right.
Buffalo, Detroit,
Right.
St. Louis,
Vegas.
maybe some Floridians. But, yep, that was Carlo Gambino, the little bit of nothing going on in his life. Yes. It's hard to believe they don't have nothing on these guys, dude.
Right.
Just crazy. Every website is the same information.
Right.
It's like, okay. They didn't even have, like, how a bunch of other ones had New York Times articles and shit about them. Carlo Gambino had very little of them. So,
Never do.
I don't know. That's what we'll get.
Bosses.
But we'll have Paul Castellano coming up next month, which would be the first one. Well, this is Happy New Year, too, guys. Hi, Happy New Year. Yay, 2024. And February, Mafia of the Month, Castellano, once every month. There you go. You're welcome, guy. That hopefully our numbers go up with this episode, huh, guy?
Right.
So, in other words, we'll be back next week for more true crime. Don't know what it's going to be about. I say it every time. Maybe it's going to be a shooting.
There'll be something.
It'll probably be a shooting this time. We did Chris Benoit,
Right.
Scott Peterson,
Right.
and the other guy. Oh, David Cam. Our last few episodes of that. So tune in next week for some more true crime. We'll be back for Mafia of the Month next month. And go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network, as well as Apple, Spotify. Give us a review and share us with your friends. We'll be back for more Outlaws and Gunslingers. We are the Month of Music Industry.
Bang Dang.